I'm Becky Safe. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at resampling bass. So I'm going to show you a multitude of different ways that you can resample a bass, from putting it into a sampler and being able to play a one-shot across your keyboard, and then resampling that in things like Granulator and taking samples from VSTs and resampling them over and over and processing and getting some really cool effects and shots and textures from just a bass. Following all of that, I'll show you how to save your samples in your library so that you can have your own unique back catalogue of samples. And this video was actually suggested by somebody in the YouTube comments, and I do actively take your suggestions on videos. So if you do have an idea of something that you would like me to cover, the best thing to do is to jump in the Discord, as there is a designated channel in there for YouTube video suggestions. Also, just to let you know, Black Friday, oi oi, everybody is so excited, and I do have a special Black Friday deal on my website. So if you do want to master the art of Ableton Live or sound design or both and grab yourself a huge discount, get to my website, the link below in the description. So our first question, and the most obvious question, is what is resampling? And resampling is basically taking something that's already existing and putting it either into a sampler and playing it across your keyboard, or you could stick it into things like Granulator 2, which we'll go into a little bit later, and do some granular synthesis. And then you could also bounce out that audio file and then resample that and resample that and resample that. It came from way back in the day with the old records, where we've resampled all of the breaks. We just take the breaks out of the records and then we resample them and resample them and resample them until they become something totally different to the original sound. And that is how you can get something unique out of something that already exists. So in the project here, I have a bass one shot from a pack, so this is not mine. So let's do resampling this one shot, or two shots. There's two little bits there, but let's just call it a one shot. Let's resample this one shot into Ableton's sampler, which is the most obvious way to resample. So we'll get a sampler and we'll just bring it below this track here. And all you need to do with the sampler is drag and drop your sample into the drop samples window here. And before you go any further, you just need to make sure you set your root note. So we can see here that this is an A. It says it in the title of the audio file. So we need to get our root to A. We'll do A3. Let's play the original. And then let's find A3 on the keyboard. So that's actually A4. So I'm going to bring this down to A2. And there we go. We have the same audio file now. Cool. So that is the sample in the sampler. And then the next thing you can do in here is you can start to adjust the parameters of the sampler. You have sustain and release mode, which is how the sample is going to be played when you press down on the keys. So that's a back and forth motion. You also have your release mode. And you have a reverse here as well. So you can start to adjust the parameters inside the sampler, but now with this sample, we can play any of the notes on the keyboard and it's going to move in pitch. So I'll start with the A, and then I could play a C. I could play an E. So now that we have that one-shot sample, it's laid across all of the keys on the keyboard, we can start to play in our own bass line using the one-shot, knowing that it's going to be on all of the keys. So let's play it with the break over the top. Just going to quantize that, and let's close it so we can bring it back to the start. And then you can go back into the sampler, and obviously you have all of the different options in here. You have the oscillator, so you can do some frequency modulation. So you start to change the sound in Ableton Sampler, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but you do have all of the different tabs here. So you can change the filter, you have pitch envelopes, you have ADSR envelopes, you also have LFOs for modulation. So lots of different things in there. And you can already hear that just by adding that frequency modulation, we've changed the sound, the sonic quality of that sample, which was originally this, into this. And from there, you can start to further process that using some audio effects. So let's find OTT, everybody's favorite, multiband dynamics, OTT. We could also add erosion for that extra crunch on the top. So that's just adding some noise onto the top of the bass line. If we play that now with the break. So it sounds pretty cool, but then what you also want to do to further process this is to actually freeze and flatten it. So then you can take that sample and resample the sample that you've resampled. It is an endless loop, but the amount of sounds that you can get from this is actually really, really cool. So to do that, you go to the track and you right click and you do freeze track, and then you flatten the track. And now we have our sample. I'm just going to press Control or Command and J so that it's now a unique file. And then this file can be added into a new sampler. So we're going to come back onto the sampler and we're going to drag in this file into our sample window. And now we have our bass line at the top here, but we also have the option to add in something else. So we can change the parameters, we can adjust the flags, adjust the loop markers. So let's play this. Oh, firstly, we need to make sure that we're on A2 because that was the original root note of the sample. So we can change the sustain mode. I'm going to do it like that. Ooh, that's nice. Cool. So something like that, we can then start to record that in. So now we have two different bass lines complementing each other in a call and response fashion using the same samples so that they sound like they're working together because they are technically made of the same stuff. But we can process this a little bit differently. So we could now add echo. And as this is a complementary kind of call and response bass line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the high pass filter up so that when I do come to adding a sub in this project, it's not going to be clashing with those sub frequencies. And now let's play it. So I'm probably just going to bring down the feedback on that as it was trailing over the main bass line. And then you can freeze and flatten this so that you're working with the audio. And now we have our frozen track, consolidating, Command or Control J. And let's just bring up the volume so we can actually see what we're working with. Zoom in and just start to cut out the parts where it's overlapping. And then from there, you can take this sample, you can edit it out. So Control or Command and E, bring that down to the front. So we've just copied that with Control. And then I'm just going to press R to reverse it, just remove the fade, and then have a little fade in. And now if you listen to this, you'll hear that it's a bit more smoother fading into our sample. So that together with the rest of the track. And you can hear the difference here. It's just very straight in. So that's another way that you can start to resample and then make your samples even more interesting with some reverse effects at the beginning. We could also take a section of this here. So this is quite interesting. I'm going to create a new track down below, and let's just chop out this little kind of bubbly section. I don't know what to call that. We're just gonna consolidate it. Okay, so now we have this. Another way to manipulate your audio in Ableton is if you double click on the audio file, you do have all of the parameters down here that you can adjust and manipulate that audio, whether it be pitch, length. You also have your warp modes as well. So we can increase the pitch. We could increase the length. So let's play this now. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm going to reverse that back actually. I'm going to double the length again. So that's cool. So you're starting to get some textures. We can use the warp modes now, and the repitch would be really cool. Or we could go on textures, which is grain size. We can then take out this section. So I've just pressed Control E. So we can take this out. And now we're starting to have our own little glitch sound. So I'm just going to mute the track above. So that's pretty cool. And then I'm going to drag and add that into the start of each 4 bars. And then we could add echo onto this, because this would be really cool having echo on here. And we can bring in this sample from before that we've taken the one shot from. And that's all coming from that one bass shot. So you can see how by redoing things over and over and over again and stretching it and warping it and all of that stuff, you start to create your own unique sounds. Let's look at taking a bass sample from a VST. So I'm going to use Vital. Vital, everybody's favorite new VST. Yeah, I'm just going to load in a preset that I've already made. Let's go with this one from a previous video. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to play this in. So you can see that we've got a sustained A note that's just going across 4 bars, and then it's being repeated again. But instead of using this and resampling it into the sampler, we can now automate the parameters on this and then freeze and flatten it and then resample that. So we're going to record with the record arm off, and we're going to go back into Vital. I'm just actually going to turn off the effects with the reverb. I just want the reverb to be off. So we're going to record the automation by manipulating using the mouse in the parameters in Vital. So hit record, back into Vital. So I've just opened up a few of the automated parameters there, but you can see as I was automating over time that it started to draw in the automation. So let's just close the automation. I'm going to freeze track and flatten it. And now we're just working with the audio. And from here we can then chop out a section. Let's just create a new track. We're going to take that section and let's go into the audio settings and we'll stretch this super long. Let's listen to this. This is Pretty cool. I like the beginning part of that, so I'm going to take that out. I'm going to bring this forward, and then I'm going to shift this up 12 semitones because it was quite low. So that's adding another layer on top there. We could even shift this up another 12 semitones. So we're going up, and now we're turning this into more of a melodic section rather than the bass. Finally, let's look at resampling in Granulator 2. So this is also from Ableton. You might need to download it from the PAX website. And then you can drag and drop your sounds into Granulator 2. This is a granular synthesizer, and it works in the same way as a sampler, but it's splitting everything into grains. I'm not going to go too much into this, but basically, if you adjust the grain size and the spray and the file position, you can start to get some really interesting sounds. And then you can record that in the same way that you would record in using your sampler. And as we did with recording the automation in the VST, now that we have the MIDI notes in there, we can then start to automate the parameters. If we take the record arm off and hit record, we can change the spray and the grain and the file position. Stop record on that, and then you freeze the track and you flatten it. And now you have the MIDI notes that we've played in using the granular synthesizer and the automation that we've drawn in over time. And now we have a file with lots of different sections in. And that's really cool. I like that. So I want to chop that out. And then we have a new track, and we drag this down. And then we have this little kind of one-shot sound. So that could probably go there in the track. And that's how you do resampling in lots of different ways in Ableton. But obviously you might want to save these samples. And the first thing you need to do whenever you're freezing and flattening is just make sure that you consolidate. So Command or Control and J, so that your sample is saved into the folder. Because if you right click on here and you go to Show in Browser, you can see there now that you have your consolidated files. And you can take those files and you can save them in a new folder. So if we come back into, I'm just going to find a folder here. I'm going to right click, new folder, and I'm going to do my resampled bass. And then in that folder, I can just drag and drop my sample in there, and I can rename it as bass one shot A, for example. And now I have my samples inside my resampled bass. It's an ALC file, and you drag it and you drop it into any project that you would like. And that's how you could just build up your own sample library of your own unique samples. Make your tracks unique, make your music unique, make it your own, build up your own sample library, and you'll never need to use samples ever again, because you'll have your own, which is great. If you got something out of this video, please consider giving it a like and dropping a comment down below to let me know what you thought. I would love to hear from you, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section. And if you would like to be notified when I post new content, hit the subscribe. Yeah, subscribe. Please subscribe to my channel. It helps me to help you. Ta-da! Also, make sure you check out the links below in the description, including the Discord, the Twitch channel, and my website, where you can grab a exclusive Black Friday deal, a huge discount if you want to master the art of Ableton Live and sound design. I'm Becky Safe. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and I will see you for another one. Bye!